Over my adult life, I've had 4 therapists. 3 were to serve a purpose. The first, I was seeking validation for what I had experienced at the hands of my brother. I did not receive it. The second, the hope of saving a marriage, which did not happen. And thirdly, I saw a therapist to help support me as I raised my daughters as a single and only parent. It was my 4th therapist, though, the one that I'm with today, that set me on a path towards healing. She has the right tools. She's never rushed me to forgiveness or to minimize my pain. She's taught me to trust myself again. Through EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, I learned to revisit my memories without reliving them. The flashbacks have begun to quiet themselves. My body is beginning to believe I'm safe. Through DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy, which was created by Marsha Linehan, I've learned to manage my emotions instead of drowning in them. DBT has given me the tools to pause before reacting, to name my emotions rather than to become them, to lean into feelings rather than to resist, to act as if in safe places, no matter how uncomfortable it may be, and to choose wise mind over panic. Because my therapist is certified and trained in EMDR and DBT, she's helping me rebuild what trauma fractured: trust, dignity, and choice. The work is hard. It's daily. And even after 5 years, I know I'm nowhere near finished. 60 years of trauma and abuse don't dissolve quickly, but I am dedicated to the work, to learn, to reflect, to find peace. As a professor and a published researcher, I'm not a fan of self-help books. I prefer writings grounded in research, practice, and lived experience. Books that teach through truth. So I started reading a lot. Books became mirrors and mentors. Jean Baker Miller's Towards a New Psychology of Women was published in the 1970s at the height of the Equal Rights Amendment movement. It was edited and republished again in the 1980s. Yet this text spoke to me as those were the years when I was growing up and becoming a woman. Miller redefines women's psychology through connection rather than competition. She argues that growth and strength arise from relationships, empathy, and mutual empowerment. The book challenges patriarchal models of independence, emphasizing that genuine development happens through connection, compassion, and shared understanding between women and their communities. Miller showed me that growth happens in connection, not in isolation. Oprah Winfrey and Dr. Bruce Perry's text, What Happened to You, explores how childhood trauma shapes behavior, emotions, and relationships. They replace the question, what's wrong with you, with what happened to you. Through stories in neuroscience, they show how understanding trauma rewires empathy and creates paths towards healing, resilience, and deeper compassion for ourselves and others. Dr. Kristen Neff's ongoing work in self-compassion is presented as a science-based alternative to self-criticism. She outlines 3 pillars: mindfulness, self-kindness, and common humanity as tools for emotional resilience. By practicing gentleness rather than judgment, readers learn to quiet inner shame, embrace imperfection, and cultivate a stable sense of worth and connection. Her work helps me to soften my inner voice. I've often been told that I'm resilient, I persevere. I push through even the hardest of times. Dr. Angela Duckworth's book, Grit, argues that success depends more on sustained effort than innate talents. She draws from psychology and real-world examples and defines grit as a blend of passion and persistence. Her book and her ongoing work focuses on long-term goals with resilience, curiosity, and optimism, even when progress feels painfully slow. I felt I saw myself in her writings and reminded me that perseverance, not perfection, sustains healing. Dr. Donna Hicks' book on dignity I came across while I was developing a university course. She revealed that reclaiming worth is an act of justice, that dignity is a universal human need, recognition of inherent worth, the worth that we're born with. Through personal and global stories, she teaches how honoring dignity restores trust, heals relationships, and transforms anger into mutual respect and understanding. Here is where I began to think that maybe I was worthy too. What I had given to so many through my work, my words, and presence throughout the years, well, maybe I was deserving of it as well. Dr. Diane Langberg's Redeeming Power allowed me to explore my faith and my healing. She guided me through the sacred work of healing from spiritual and emotional abuse. She examines how power, even spiritual power, can be distorted and weaponized. With wisdom and compassion, she exposes abuse within religious institutions and calls for accountability, humility, and restoration. Her message, True Redemption, comes through truth-telling, justice, and the courageous use of power to protect the vulnerable. This meant that I needed to be truthful with myself. I needed to become keenly aware of how trauma and abuse not only shaped me, but how my patterns of survival have kept me from making decisions based on wise mind, self-compassion, self-kindness, and self-love. And then there were the stories, autobiographies that modeled courage, each transforming pain into purpose. Courage that showed me what might be possible for myself. Queen Noor's memoir reminded me that grace and conviction can coexist. Her story of navigating identity, leadership, and love in the public eye shows what it means to carry dignity through scrutiny and loss. Ruth Bader Ginsburg's life reflected perseverance against systemic barriers. She transformed personal struggle into advocacy for justice, proving that determination anchored in purpose can reshape entire systems. Sandy Patty, a Christian gospel artist, opens up about failure, betrayal, and redemption, and it taught me that shame cannot withstand honesty. Her willingness to share the most painful parts of her journey mirrored my own longing to speak the truth and still be loved. Her story also spoke to me personally, as I had had the opportunity to work with her during my years as a professional harpist. I saw her in a different light after reading her book, A Deeper Life. Stephen Curtis Chapman, who's an icon in Christian rock music, wrote about unimaginable grief and how faith can coexist with heartache and heartbreak. His story reminded me that belief is not certainty. It's choosing to hope, even when understanding fails. Eleanor Roosevelt's writings revealed how self-doubt can evolve into moral courage. A once shy woman found her voice and used it to advocate for human dignity worldwide. And when I read the words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., I was reminded that truth healing often begins in resistance, in refusing to let injustice or pain define the final word. Similarly, Cesar Chavez, his story reflected quiet endurance, the long, faithful work of lifting others while facing hardship and misunderstanding. Each of these individuals, from public figures to personal heroes, modeled what it looks like to transform adversity into agency, grief into grace, and wounds into witness. They lived the truth that redemption is not denial of pain, but the holy work of rising again because of it.